And this is the holy gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to St. Matthew. Jesus said to the 12 disciples, "A disciple is not above the teacher, nor a slave above the master. It is enough for the disciple to be like the teacher and the slave like the master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they align those of his household? So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hairs of your head are all counted, so do not be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who acknowledges me before others, I also will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before others, I also will deny before my Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and one's foes will be members of one's own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up the cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Those who find their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it." The Gospel of the Lord. One of my favorite movies from years ago was the Clint Eastwood Western, The Outlaw Josie Wales. I imagine many of you have seen it, but for those who haven't, basically Josie Wales is an outlaw, but more Robin Hood than Al Capone. He has suffered an injustice, and he has taken it upon himself to enact the justice he feels he deserves. So more or less, he goes around murdering people who either A, seek to bring him to face the law, or who B, he feels deserve it. So curiously, even though he is presented as sort of the hero of this movie, he isn't really very heroic. But I digress, because there's another character in the film, Lone Waddy, a Native American, played by the great actor Dan George, who joins with Josie as they head for Mexico. In the scene where they meet, Lone Waddy describes the time that he and other Native leaders had traveled to Washington, D.C. to meet with the leaders of government in hopes that the federal government might do something to address the injustice that he and his people were facing. And rather than receiving the justice they desire, they are given platitudes and empty gestures. They were told to endeavor to persevere. It's a great line. And in this film, this phrase, endeavor to persevere, is used to show the emptiness of words when action is needed. It has parallels in today's thoughts and prayers that are offered whenever a preventable tragedy occurs that those who in power have little or no desire to address. But I actually really like the phrase. I think it has a great meaning, because in so many ways it echoes very clearly with the message of the Gospels and the epistles of the New Testament. In fact, it very much echoes with the whole of God's salvation story. Trust in God. Hold on to the promises even in the face of darkness, despair, and depravity. And if you stumble, get back up and keep seeking the path of Jesus. Keep trying. Keep believing. Have faith. Endeavor to persevere. But as we see in this message from Jesus in today's gospel reading, our perseverance and our endeavoring has real-world consequences. Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and one's foes will be members of one's own household." In other words, there are many, some of whom may be close to us, who do not desire to see the vision of Jesus enacted in our world. There are those who benefit from the status quo, no matter the cost to some of our neighbors and brothers and sisters, and who will seek to undermine the gospel mission of reconciliation and merciful justice. Jesus is pretty clear that along with the rewards of faith, participation in the abundant life of Jesus' conquest over death, there are also real-world consequences, real-world costs. We are engaged as Christian people in a struggle with the evil of the world. But it's not the struggle of arms. We aren't called to a battle with weapons. No, we are called to be witnesses, to give our testimony, to be unafraid, to live lives worthy of our Lord, to call out injustice and demand restoration, reconciliation, and peace. We are called, as he says, to take up the cross and follow him wherever he leads us. We are called to sacrifice our fears and insecurities, our hatreds and rivalries, our self-righteous self-regard in order that this world might be worthy of the Lord who strove to redeem it. We are called to not only not lose hope, but to interject that hope fearlessly into the world, not to guard it closely to our chest, but to share it widely, recklessly. We are called to do more than offer empty platitudes, to offer more than lip service or benign neglect. We are called to act. We are called to endeavor to persevere. Thanks be to God.